Leader tonight is Phil. Thank you, Phil. Our judge is Lynn Cook. Lynn is a very experienced professional photographer, should say photography professional, both as a photojournalist, a commercial photographer, as well as a teacher of photography. And he was a judge for us about 6 months ago, I believe, and was extremely well received on that night. And so with that, Len, I'll turn it over to you. And
thank you.
Oh, I'll mention that we'll go through first Pictorial. We have 29 entries in Pictorial and then 29 entries spread over creative, travel, journalism, and critique feedback. So we'll do Pictorial and then take a break, 5-minute break, and then we'll finish with the other categories. Okay.
Thank you all for having me, by the way. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming. Okay, you should all see that Pictorial?
Yep.
Basic 6 images.
Okay, Pictorial basic 6 images. Mendocino Coast sunset at Heritage House.
Sunsets are often, we all see a lot of sunsets, and this is one that's pretty well done. And seaside sunsets also can be a little bit tricky because finding that central, that point of interest, that one one item that really is the subject of the picture. And the photographer has done a terrific job here. We've got the very bright sun, of course, at the very left margin of this picture. And we've got again, we have the kind of panoramic, not quite panoramic, but we've got an aspect ratio that suggests panorama. And the left edge of the picture is the sun. And then as we gaze through the picture, popping out from the right side is the white structure of the Heritage House. And that suddenly becomes, hey, here is the focal point of this image. And the photographer has kind of tucked it away just a little bit, letting us discover it. And if we hadn't discovered it on our own, we have some very nice leading lines in the surf foam, and the foam on the surf, leading us back in that direction. And also a nice line, diagonal line of rocks, starting from the center left of the picture, moving over toward the center right. So nice use of foreground all the way around. This is a really handsome and well composed and well thought out picture with a very nice, almost surprise main subject. Good job. Nice tonal range, also good contrast. Perhaps a little more detail around the clouds at the sunny side might help. But the picture works the way it is, and the sun sure looks very bright. Excellent. Next image, please.
Art Deco facade, Roxy Theater, Santa Rosa.
Here's an image that is a portrait of a building, and the light, the time of day is just right. Again, this is late in the day. You can see the shadow from the Roxy sign itself moving straight to one side, and this gives us a lot of texture throughout the structure. We get lots of texture and wonderful saturation in the colors. The photographer has composed it very well, keeping vertical lines, vertical, and oftentimes in structural pictures, architectural pictures, we see a little bit of a loss that way. Not here. The photographer has composed this and presented it very carefully to preserve those verticals. The sense of age is not stressed here, but it is clear. The sense of Art Deco, of course, that's the design itself, but the sense of age also is there, but not emphasized. It's not made pathetic. The building retains a lot of nobility, a lot of elegance, and it's treated respectfully. But I particularly like the saturation in the colors. Nice job, and the little bit of fill light reflection on the Roxy sign just really helps to make the sign jump. Wonderful job, even including such a blue sky. Yeah, go ahead. Next image. Speaking of blue sky. Oops, sorry.
St. Rose Church, Santa Rosa.
Speaking of blue sky and not having verticals, not having upright verticals, this is great timing. The photographer again has retained the upright vertical where it needs to be, and that's the peak. And of course, the structure here does not have upright verticals. These things are not plumb. They are all at an angle, and anybody can see that. But the photographer has given us a symmetrical, balanced view of this pyramid, this triangular structure, and chosen interesting timing because we've got two pigeons or two birds. I think they could be crows also. I guess they might be crows on the cross at the very pinnacle of this thing against a marvelous cloudscape. So the photographer has been able to identify and provide for us a really good portrait of a piece of architecture with a wonderful sky background. Good job. Good exposure also. Good highlights in the white structure, the white structure itself. Just enough highlight to make it look bright and just enough to get a texture to us. Next image, please.
Chiricahua National Monument, rock formation #1.
I think it takes a certain amount of courage to stand under a rock like this, I think. So I'm going to give the photographer a pat on the back for that. And it is an unusual rock formation with this rock seemingly about to creep through or slip through this narrow these narrowly pinched rocks on each side of it. Makes for an interesting picture, kind of spooky, and kind of, well, is this going to happen or isn't it? So the subject of the picture is fun. It's a fun subject in the picture, and the photographer has done a good job on with composition also. The stone itself is right there at the upper rule of thirds horizontal line, and centered right on that line. So again, we have a good timing with the clouds also. A little more highlight detail, I think, would be maybe possible. I don't know. In the bright highlight on the rock on the center left there, we have the sun just shining through and splashing onto the rock. I don't know that it would be critical to have. It's not absolutely imperative that you have more highlight detail there, but if there is any in the image, I think it would be helpful. Next image, please.
Dahlia bloom after a rain.
Well, we can see quite clearly that this is a cloudy day and the clouds are still with us, and we've got water drops all around the dahlia and nice color saturation in the center of this thing, reaching out toward the faded edges of the petals. A really nice touch is we've got a dahlia blossom just coming out at the just to the upper left at the like 11 o'clock position there, and there's a drop just halfway hanging off that nascent dahlia. And then at the 2 o'clock position, we have another nascent dahlia just about getting ready to become a flower. And there's a drop hanging off of that too. And again, down at the 5 o'clock position or 4 o'clock position, drops hanging off. So the photographer has done a real nice job of capturing several droplets just in mid descent. So good timing, good color saturation, a strongly dominant subject with a nice, very soft focus background. Next image, please.
And plot of inhospitable shore with forest looming, Salt Point State Park.
Again, what I mentioned with the Heritage House is that oftentimes with seascapes, we have a little bit of trouble. I see seascapes that have a weak main subject, a weak center of interest. Here, we don't have much surf, but we have just enough, and it's timed just right to make a very strong main subject, a very strong center of interest. And we see that spray coming off of this thing with such detail. And another feature of this picture that I found kind of interesting is in the background, we see the bark on these trees is very, very pale. I'm not sure what kind of trees they are, but the bark is very pale, and we have a lot of vertical lines. And my mind keeps suggesting to me that we're seeing this, and although we're seeing this in sunlight, my mind keeps suggesting to me rainfall. The bark of those trees with those vertical white lines keeps suggesting rainfall to me. And I like that. That's kind of a mind trick or an optical illusion of sorts to go along with it. So very long tonal scale in this picture, good shadow detail with also a sense of sea spray in the air. Well, a little bit of fog in the air from the surf spray. Good job, good center of interest, interesting use of the trees in the background. Next image, please.
Pictorial intermediate, 6 images. Lightning over the Palouse.
Wow. Wow, there's not much beyond. After saying wow, I think I've got probably everybody's reaction pretty well covered. But in addition to the lightning shattering through these clouds, scattering through these clouds, we have the furry, ragged edge bottom of the clouds where the raindrops, the rainfall is pulling the bottom edges of the clouds down toward the ground. And we see a squall in the background, right in the center of the horizon. We see a squall just raining thoroughly, putting a lot of rain down on the ground with that dark spot in the bottom center of the sky there. So this is really telling a story of intense rainfall throughout the scene, with capped off by this beautiful lightning bolt. Nice, wonderful image. Of course, the timing is whether there was an electronic device involved in the timing or not doesn't matter. It is done perfectly. The grain in the foreground helps a great deal in telling us also about the nature of the countryside there. This is one of the more unusual Palouse pictures I've seen, and we see a lot of them, of course. Wonderful area to photograph. Next image, please.
The journey.
Really straightforward. We've got the 5-step program leading to the brink and into the sunset. So the pavers here have a little bit of sparkle to them, reflecting the sunset, reflecting the setting sun. And the pavers align nicely with the path of the sunlight through the ocean as well. The the sky, I think the sky is a little bit too burned out in the picture. We've got a very dark foreground, and but it has some texture, and then it leads up to the top of the image, and there's just nothing left up there. I am going to ask the photographer to consider other methods in approaching this such a subject in the future, and provide a little more detail up in the top. I think it would make the picture that much stronger. So, next image, please.
Allow me.
Indeed, I'm going to twist your mustache for you here. So these two fellows are evidently cooperating, I guess. Well, certainly one is cooperating with the other. There's no doubt about it. The colors are very strong. The gaze of the eyes from one of the fellows, the fellow on the left, into the face of the fellow on the right, is complemented by the eyelash of the fellow on the right. And we have just enough eye contact with the fellow on the right to emphasize the intensity of the gaze between these two men. And the textures of the beard that we see underneath the fellow's wrist, and the textures of the mustaches, we see both those curves. A fun picture with a lot of wonderful texture and eyes. Very strong color as well. Next image, please.
TikToking in times of COVID.
This was a puzzle. When I was looking at this was a puzzle to me. I'm not sure quite what's happening here. The composition is understandable. The fellow who is leaning, the fellow on the left here that's facing toward us with no mask, is leaning into the picture, and the rest of the picture consists of folks that are kind of walking along. The energy in the picture is a little hard to figure out. I'm not sure quite what's happening. Perhaps he's about to sneeze in the midst of a sneeze. In any case, we have some stuff in the image, I think, that doesn't need to be there. The gate on the right-hand side, the chain link fence, I don't know if that needs to be there, or if that much of it needs to be there if we were to crop in from the right a little bit. But certainly if we were to crop in from the left enough to obscure the fire exit sign, I think that would be a help. Just enough to get rid of the fire exit sign, I think, would be a help. There are a couple of some distractions in the picture that we don't particularly need, and it might elevate the energy just a little bit in the picture. It's a puzzle. It's a kind of a puzzle picture. Not sure what's going on. Next image, please. Oh, it is well exposed. So.
Nacho Zocalo, artist of Guatake, Colombia.
Good portrait. This is an interesting portrait. The fellow, we've got just enough texture in his face, although we have very, very flat light here, as opposed to the two fellows working on mustaches. That was very contrasty light across the fellow's face and brought out the texture very strongly. Here we have a very flat light, overcast, and even flatter because of the big broad brim on this fellow's hat. So the photographer has given us enough light peeking under the hat, so we have bright eyes and some texture in the face, and enough texture to tell us about the fellow's skin. We don't need much more information about his age than that great long white beard. That tells us plenty. Now, the other part of the other aspect of it is the photographer has also included important just enough important samples of the kind of work that this guy does to tell us about the kind of work that this guy does. Down in the bottom right corner, there is a portrait of a person who lives in the area, and tools, carpenter's tools, woodworking tools. And these are the kinds of things that this guy is an expert in. So the photographer has given us a good, strong portrait of the person in his artistic environment. Next image, please.
Autumn's arrival.
Yeah, the pumpkins and gourds and squashes and all that kind of thing are, of course, a real strong contenders for the symbols. The next symbol after autumn leaves must be pumpkins and the pumpkin patch, which comes up this weekend, by the way, here in the Fremont area at Ardenwood Regional Farm, historical farm. So I work there on Sundays, giving guided tours. So enough about me. The rendering here that the photographer has given us gives us a couple of things: very strong color saturation and very deep and dark tones. The photographer has chosen to render this fairly dark. I'm not sure it needs to be this dark. The composition is real strong. The stem of this pumpkin is in just the right place. It's in exactly the right place. And the background is really well handled. The leaves look wonderful. And there's even some suggestion of motion in the leaves, like they're fluttering in a bit of a wind behind this thing. So we have some action in the picture, and we have some very intense color saturation and terrific texture in both the stem and in the pumpkin itself. So good job on the part of the photographer. I'm not sure it needs to be this dark overall, but the color saturation does work to advantage here. Next image, please.
Pictorial advance, 9 images. Sunlit Island, Killarney National Park, Ireland.
The photographer here has really, really emphasized the textures throughout this picture. The texture we see in the water, the ripples in the water have been strongly emphasized through the use of post-processing. The textures in the plants along the banks of this body of water, very strongly emphasized in both the mirror image on the water and in the plants themselves, in the shrubbery itself. And of course, as you can see all through the trees, really strong texture emphasis, and that works very, very well throughout the picture. We get a real strong feeling of what this countryside is like, and it's not just a thought type feeling, it's a very sensual touch type feeling. We can feel these textures that the photographer has provided for us. And also the yellows in the shrubbery are real well emphasized, strongly emphasized, to bring up all of that brightness too. So in both the reflection and in the original. Lovely composition, very peaceful, quiet, except for the intensity of the texture and brightness. Next image, please.
Nature's playground, children playing oblivious to the beauty of the sea stacks in the background. Cannon Beach, Oregon.
I think probably most of us have seen pictures from Cannon Beach, and we are sort of vaguely familiar with the nature of sea stacks there. And I see lots of presentations of the sea stacks, and a lot of them are pretty static, or they have people off in the distance, not the photographer here. The photographer has chosen to get right up nice and close to some kids, and we see the kids, see what the kids are doing, whether it's digging, trying to dig for clams, or just digging, having fun. The child on the left is just kind of stamping on the wet sand, and we've got that little fellow on the other person on the to the right there a little bit with the shovel. So the kids are having fun, and we get the sense of place very strongly stated with this sea stack right behind them. So the photographer is taking a little bit different approach to sea stacks, the Cannon Beach, by giving us well identifiable people in the foreground as opposed to silhouettes with good action and good, interesting composition. The color in the water and the upper part of the sky is handled nicely too. Next image, please.
Soul food.
Yeah. A walk in the country. How many poets and how many writers and philosophers have told us about the value of just getting out and walking while you're thinking instead of sitting and thinking. And so this soul food indeed. The photographer here gives us a path that starts at the bottom right corner of the picture, and we can see that, and the person on this path, our eyes go right up to that person. They go right to that person, and then beyond the person, the path leads off to the left, and the bonus becomes the warm patches of dried grass or soil on the green hillside. So this yellow path starts at the bottom right corner, winds around, and then climbs the hill, turning brown and splashing all across the top of the hill, on the side of the hill here. So interesting composition. The meadow that takes up the lower left of, well, most of the picture actually becomes almost negative space. It becomes almost just empty, but it isn't. It has good texture, and it has good color gradation in it, and it retains interest, even though it is superseded by the photographer's composition. Nicely done. Interesting use of dynamic lines here. Next image, please.
Sunset and Solitude, Cicada Head Lighthouse, Oregon coast.
Nice.
Yep. The photographer has taken a little bit of a chance here, I think, and that is to take a lower point of view. The photographer has gotten down low enough so that the shrubbery, the bare shrubbery, leafless shrubbery in the foreground gets halfway, almost obscuring, gets up into the house, almost obscuring the house, certainly obscuring a lot of the front of the house that's at the base of this lighthouse. That's kind of a gutsy move, because it's kind of hiding the main subject, part of the main subject of the picture. But it works. It works very well to give us a real strong sense of depth. And oftentimes lighthouses, you wind up with a picture that looks like a lighthouse pasted against a sky. But here we have a foreground that has all of this texture. Then we have another layer in the picture that is the house and the lighthouse behind that. And then, of course, we have the sky, the cloudscape behind the lighthouse. Interesting composition, interesting choice of viewpoint, showing that getting down a little bit lower sometimes is going to work very well. And in this case, it does. Next image, please.
High-Foss, Iceland, 2015.
Well, we've got a fun kind of S curve here, starting in the upper right corner and then reaching down. I'm going to try to make a change here. I changed something on, there There was a message on my screen. I just got rid of it. So we start in the upper right-hand corner with some water right at the very top of the right-hand corner of the picture. And that suggests that it's descending down through this kind of almost S curve through the falls in the foreground. The photographer has also used a shutter speed that is just the right shutter speed to give us a flow of water, but still retain a lot of the texture. By using a too long shutter speed, sometimes we lose texture of the water altogether. Here, no, the photographer has done it quite nicely. So good texture in the water, good choice of shutter speeds to give us just enough sense of action. Good exposure all around, very long tone scale, and excellent control of the highlights as well. Good, strong texture in the highlights, detail in the highlights. Next image, please.
Composition in red and white.
The photographer has given us odd, and oftentimes that's one of the clues to a thoughtful photographer. Photographers, we are told anyway, that even numbers of things make for a boring picture, and the odd numbers of things, like 5 tulips, work better. And of course, that guideline is on display here pretty effectively. The flowers, the blossoms, are arranged in a single plane so that they are all about the same distance from the camera. So there's no real challenge to the depth of field here. So everything is in one plane of focus, and that helps keep everything sharp. We don't have any background. So these things appear almost to be two-dimensional in reality as well as two-dimensional in the picture. The caution I have here is the inverse square law. We can all, I look it up once in a while myself. The inverse square law tells us that the closer things are to a light source, the brighter they are. And we can see that the light source is coming from the left. And the flower on the left is the brightest of the bunch. And then the brightness declines across the flowers until we get to the flower on the right. And that one's pretty dark. I think that could be improved. I don't think we need as much of a transition from the very bright to the very darkest flower. I would like to see the flowers somewhat more evenly illuminated, and that could be done by moving them further away from the light source, just as is, or just moving the light source further away from them to the left. And that in itself, just by itself, by moving the light source back and then adjusting the exposure, would make the flower on the right much lighter and give a little bit better balance of illumination. Next image, please.
Urban cloudscape.
What a fun picture. What a terrific composition. This is a kind of lesson in almost formal composition, with the picture split right in half, with sky above and structure below. And then right at the right point, about a third of the way across the picture, is the top of a tree or a shrub or something that's sitting on top of this building or on the other side of this wall behind it. And then we have the reflection. The reflection in these windows is distorted. These windows are not flat. They are made of some kind of material that is flexing or bent, perhaps in a breeze. In any case, the wires reflected in the windows seem to be flipping around. They seem to be blowing in the breeze. So we have a very static picture all the way around, but very formal composition, very interesting composition. And then we have these crazy looking lines reflected in the windows that turn out, looks like they're power lines, flying in the air. So lots of visual things going on in the picture. Again, very formal, very structured, very upright composition, kind of almost deadpan, except for that shrub or tree in the background in the center of near the center of the picture. Wow, I think a delightful picture. Next image, please.
Ta-da! An acrobatic seal at Salt Point, California, 2011.
Yeah. So sweet. So sweet. The treatment here is black and white. We can see that. And we can also see, look at all of these mussels. Holy smokes, the mussels on these rocks here. Boy, there are chefs in this world who would be real envious of that collection of mussels. In any case, the seal contrasts against the rest of the background, and the photographer has exploited that quite nicely. The seal is a real good tone, and the acrobatic part of it is the seal doing hyperextensions, lifting its back end by flexing its back muscles. So fun picture, strong contrast, excellent black and white rendition. This is the soul of black and white digital photography right here. Anybody needs to understand what a full tonal range in a black and white image should look like needs to refer to this picture. Next image, please.
What do you see in the ice? Lofoten, Norway, 2018.
Nature presents us with interesting compositions all the time, and oftentimes we overlook them. We just walk right past them. The veins in a leaf, for example, silhouetted against a rising morning sun as we walk past the tree or walk through the tree itself with the leaves hanging down around our faces. Do we even see the veins in the leaf? Except sometimes. Once in a while we stop. Oh, look at that. Here the photographer has captured that kind of adventure where the photographer has seen frozen all over the place. Everything here is frozen. But oh look, nature's composition. Then it becomes a matter of picking out some aspect. You can't show all of it. So you have to pick some aspect of it, some portion of it. And the idea is to capture a well-composed segment. And that's exactly what the photographer has done here. We have some very warm tones, I assume, in submerged leaves here, the yellows and a little bit of orange, a little bit of kind of salmon pink in some of the leaves, a little bit of wood, I think, in the upper left corner. Nice warm tones contrasting with the blue of the cold ice, the blue of the water underneath the ice, the reflection of the sky, perhaps, causing the blue. So, and all of those colors are woven quite nicely through the lines of the ice itself, the bubbles underneath forming, giving structure to lines in the ice. So the photographer has given us quite a strong composition, an interesting crop of the natural world, which is what much of our landscape photography is anyway. But the photographer has done it with particularly delightful composition here. Next image, please.
Pictorial Masters, 8 images. Moonrise over San Francisco.
Yeah. I have several friends who are news photographers still, young, they're much, much younger and they're still in the game. And they they have been taking great delight in all these supermoons, and they've been putting the moon behind everything. Not quite as nicely as this, some of them have done some wonderful things, but this is particularly appealing. The color scheme that the photographer here gives us is so classic, with its blues and greenish tones, the pale blues in the background, reaching up through some really low saturated colors in the sky. There's some magentas in there, a little bit of red, and then on up toward warm tones like very pale yellows and very soft reds scattered through there. So the city itself is bathed in a real warm glow of sunset or sunrise. No, sunset. Sorry, duh. And the moon also enjoys the atmosphere, the coloration of the atmosphere that has turned the city a nice warm tone. So good timing on the part of the photographer. It's sitting right up on top of the Salesforce Tower, which is the new dominant part of the San Francisco skyline. So good timing, good choice of position. And even the little highlights in the mountains in the background, those little white dots, I assume are the reflections of the sunset in picture windows, great picture windows of houses perched in the hills there. Those even contribute to a sense of ground-based starlight, little sparkling stars in the mountainside. Good job. Interesting colors. Next image, please.
Smallest Bay sunset.
This is another wow picture. This really hit me. The looking down on these geese, the Canada geese that are flying kind of diagonally across our path here. And there's a row of them right across the bottom edge of this picture that also has a panoramic aspect ratio. It's wide, but not very tall. And then the brilliant sunset coming up behind the mountains, up behind the hills on the other side, and causing all of these clouds to really emphasize the fact that they're being lit from underneath. As the sun sets, the sun seems to be underneath the clouds, lighting them up from the underside. And interesting effect all the way around. The clouds have those ribbons that run from one side of the picture all the way to the other. The dark ribbons, light ribbons, you start out with a light ribbon at the horizon, and then you go dark, light, dark, light. Fantastic. Just a fantastic array of colors and brightnesses. And then these geese. Marvelous picture, wonderful timing, superb. Next image, please.
Ebbets Pass.
Foliage. We get the aspens with their bright yellow leaves exploding toward us. And the photographer has included an afternoon sun, late afternoon sun, I think. Could be in the morning. But in any case, we have a sun that's kind of low in the sky. The photographer has stepped up fairly close to the trees to get the sun in a lower part of the tree line here. We see trees are a little bit higher than the sun in the picture on the very left edge of the picture. And then we have a dip in the tree, the tree tops of the trees there, and the photographer has parked the sun in that dip. And then we've got all these backlit leaves, beautiful exhibition of color, beautiful exhibition of translucence here with light coming through the leaves. Real strong blue sky. Next image, please.
Children on bikes, Cambodia.
Of course, this we have an infrared picture here and cute expressions on the kids. We've got the kids, two of the kids are looking right at us. One of the little boy on the left, or the little guy on the left, is kind of preoccupied with working on his path there, but the other two are coming right toward us and looking right at us. And we've got the fellow in the background with boy in the midground with his motorcycle and his tail light lit. Perhaps he's got a brake light on. The infrared, of course, turns all of the foliage white, making for a high impact picture. It's just, as soon as you see a picture like this, you just, what? Is that snow? And then you realize, no, of course it isn't. Infrared pictures always have that effect on me. What? Is that snow? Oh, no, it's infrared. So the photographer has given us a good long tonal scale. Infrared can sometimes be challenging and hazy looking. This is a good image quality. Next image, please.
Newborn, Kenya.
Speaking of a long tonal range, this is another one. The photographer has given us a real good, strong set of highlights here with very strong highlight texture. The shadows also are full of texture. The subject itself is classic. Ah, isn't that cute? Newborn, indeed. Interesting scene, lovely concept, really well edited in the camera, getting down to just the basics, and all of that texture on the mother and on the calf, on the foal. Lots of texture and lots of emotion at the same time in the picture. So we have a technical exhibition and an emotional exhibition in the same image. That's tops in my book in photography, being able to combine those two. Next image, please.
The forest.
Once again, we have an infrared image. Here, the path leading into the background is an interesting way to emphasize 3D, emphasize a sense of depth in the picture. Of course, in the children's picture, kids on bicycles, we had another path, a road actually, that was being traversed in both directions with the kids and the motorcycle. And that led us into the background of the picture also. This one leads us a little bit more directly and leads us from the center of the picture on slightly on the left side, leading us straight back into the same direction, rather than having a diagonal line leading us through the picture. So that having the path running straight away from us helps with the sense of depth in the picture, but it doesn't give us the diagonal line that would be a little more helpful in giving us a dynamic composition, a little more dynamic composition. We have some kind of figure on the path, but I can't tell what it is, whether it's a person or whether it's a structure of some kind. I don't know. I can't tell at all what that item is on the path. The picture really could use a person, or it could use a little bit stronger diagonal line to help with the dynamics of the picture, to help make this composition a little bit stronger. Next image, please.
Blessing for the life of the fishing boat.
Yeah, another mysterious image. Wow, look at this. What is going on here? But it's also the symbolism here is also pretty strong. We have complete utter collapse and destruction and dissolution of this craft. This boat has just been crushed by time and nature, and it's hopeless. It's just this vessel has no hope. And then standing right in front is this symbol of a person who is filled with hope and filled with radiating spirituality. On the one side, we've got a crushed and hopeless material object, and on the right side, we have hope and spirituality abounding on the right side of the picture, and they confront each other like this. And this is what a lot of life is about: hopelessness and hopefulness confronting each other. All of this is in a dreamscape with the clouds. The photographer has let the background go white in the sky and hazy, and that helps to emphasize a dream type state or state of spirituality, perhaps. But the foreground is much more strongly rendered with good, strong contrast, and the boat itself has really good, strong contrast. So the technical qualities of the picture really contribute quite nicely to the spiritual qualities in the picture. So it works all together. It works very well. Next image, please.
An enchanted dawn.
Yeah, a little while ago, a couple of minutes ago, I was talking about the aspens. I think they were aspens anyway. The trees, the yellow, with all those masses of yellow leaves. And I mentioned being translucent. And here we have a sense of translucence. The photographer has captured this from at an angle of the sunlight that suggests that all of these structures at the structures at the very center, the lighter tone structures at the very center of this picture are translucent, when of course they are not. They are rock. They're rock. They're not quartz or anything else. They are hunks of rock, sandstone or whatever. But the photographer's rendition of this gives us a sense of translucence and an even more ethereal, or not spiritual, but exotic, even more exotic image for our minds than this place ordinarily presents. And this is a pretty weird place. We see lots of pictures of it, but anyway, this picture presents an aspect and a sense of these structures that I've never seen before. This sense of translucence. Beautiful image, beautifully done, very nice rendition, good rendering in post. Lots of very strong range, brightness range in the image, and it's very successful, especially at the center of the image. That's it.
Okay, we'll take a 5-minute break. We've completed.
Creative intermediate, 3 images. Vega morning.
Nice.
One of the things that we see early in the day, particularly early in the day and late in the day, and particularly in the last couple of years in our area, is that we have seen plenty of smoke coloring the air, and that color in the air becomes, of course, much stronger in the morning and the evening, when the sun is lower in the sky and light has to go through so much more atmosphere to get to us. So it goes through that smoke-filled air, and we get this strong color. Well, the photographer here has taken a little bit of advantage of that, but instead of giving us the orangey kind of smoke-filled air, we have a warm, almost sepia treatment of the atmosphere instead. And this calls the harbor and the marina, puts it into a kind of antique sort of feeling, an antique sort of flavor, by moving more toward sepia than toward orange or other more reddish sunrise or sunset colors that we see so often. And also along the pier, we see some fisher folks, I should say, what seemed to be fisher folks leaning over the railing, peering into the water, waiting for a bite. That's what I imagine anyway. I can't see their fishing rods, but the photographer has given us something to think about and has given us a real strong feeling in this picture, and that is the feeling of daybreak and a little bit of haze, a little bit of atmospheric haze, and a little bit of that sky color that we've been getting so often around here. Next image, please.
A fleeting attraction.
Yeah, fun picture. I mentioned that I work at Ardenwood Farm, Ardenwood Historic Farm and Regional Park in Fremont, and we get flights of monarchs come in nesting from time to time or roosting on their migration, and we'll get them hanging from the trees in those great big bunches, and they're quite handsome looking. They're a lot of fun. They move very slightly with every little breeze, and as they take off, this is exactly what they look like. So the photographer has captured that quite nicely. And again, we've got it against a blue background, a blue sky background, and that's pretty effective. So we've got a tree limb or a shade or a shrub with a big dark stripe across the upper left part of the picture, and then a little bit of blue sky peeking through at that upper left corner, and then some more blue sky behind this plant and behind the monarchs. So interesting composition, interesting effect. Also interesting point of view on these things as we look at a couple of them from the underside. So fun stuff, lovely image, good composition. Next image, please.
Dog man. All the loyalty and with opposable thumbs.
Okay, it's a funny caption. And it's a funny picture, of course. We've got this dog head on a person, but it's masterfully done. What a terrific job the photographer has done in compositing this image. Some of the challenges in compositing include making the pictures that are composited seem like they belong together in terms of color and light direction and contrast and all of that. The photographer has it covered here. The color, light direction, contrast, and level of sharpness, everything works together. Even the garment, the shine on this garment that the fellow is wearing, goes with the sheen of the dog's coat, on the dog's hair, on the dog's face. It all works together seamlessly, except it's a dog on a person's head, on where a person's head belongs. So that's not completely seamless, not a completely seamless concept. Fun picture, a lot of fun, but beautifully done. Next image, please.
Creative advance, 3 images. Land shark.
Land shark, yes. So we see images in clouds. We look up and we see people's faces in clouds, and there's an expression for that. You see faces in things, or you see things where there aren't things, just because they sort of look that way. That's pareidolia. And pareidolia, facial pareidolia, is when you see faces in things. And here the photographer has seen a structure in this. Oh, look, this looks like a shark with a shark's fin sticking up out of this upright, jutting stone. And then the photographer went and found a terrific set of teeth for it and gives us a shark. A funny picture, fun, again, well composited, and the additions, the composited part, again, fit quite nicely into the subject that the photographer has chosen to stick it into. The choice of the idea that this looks like a shark is carried out beautifully with these crazy looking teeth. A lot of fun, big smile here. And of course, overall, the picture is technically excellent. It's quite a good landscape picture to begin with. Next image, please.
Nice.
The Oftentimes when photographers apply motion or swirls or special effects to pictures, we kind of lose aspects, important aspects of the picture, important aspects of the subject. Here, the photographer has retained a wonderful, organic, natural feel. We look at these petals at the bottom of the flower or the blossom, and we see petals, not just blur. And so, and we take a look around the rest of it, and we see petals still. So it retains such a strong organic sense all the way around the outside of the swirled area. Then we have the most intense swirl, and in the center of it, once again, we return to the real organic origins. So the photographer has applied a very strong, unmistakable special effect to the picture, and yet has retained the organic nature, the organic underpinnings of the subject against which he leveraged all of these technical tools, or this particular technical tool. So, and then up at the top, we have buds about to open again, adding to the sense of reality that once prevailed for this flower before the photographer applied his tricks. So all told, very effective use of the special effects and really nice composition. Next image, please.
Difficult to translate.
Wow, I should say so. This one is a real puzzle. This is a real brain teaser. I have spent more time than I care to admit trying to figure out what this is, and still have no idea what this was or is, except shiny metal. I can see that it's shiny metal, and I keep wondering, is this water in the center, or is it more shiny metal? It looks from the dents in it that it's shiny metal. In any case, it's a very bold composition, and it's symmetrical in a sense, symmetrical from side to side, certainly, and from top to bottom. It's also almost symmetrical, except the top is full of color and the bottom has this lettering in it that is, far as I can tell, is it's not in English, it's in a different language altogether. So I could be wrong about that, though. It could be, well, in any case, I can't read it. And I gave it a little bit of a try, but I thought that's not the point of the picture. The point of the picture is the symmetry here. And then what breaks the symmetry is the color on the top versus the patterns on the bottom, the lettering patterns on the bottom. And right in the center of this are all these what appear to be wooden structures. So fun image, lots of symmetry, a real optical puzzle. Next image, please.
Creative Masters, 3 images. Disappearing Act, Masai Mara, Kenya.
Poetry, in many cases, is the stripping away of words. Too many words. You start stripping them away and you get down to the very basic concepts, the most important words, the few words that are necessary to convey what the poet is trying to convey. Here the artist has stripped away everything, but not quite. What the artist here has left behind tells us all we need to know. Our minds can fill in all the blanks. Our minds just immediately draw lines from one dot to the next next, and completely fill in the lines, and my mind just goes to work and starts filling in the background as well. But I know exactly what this picture is. I know exactly what's in this picture, and the photographer has taken everything away except for the very last defining elements. What a beautiful image. Beautiful job on the part of the photographer. Wonderful, wonderful subtraction to make an addition. Nice work. Next image, please.
UFO flies past the sun.
I puzzled about this one too. What's going on? I tried to figure out, are those really sunspots? And I did a little bit of research, and yeah, that's pretty much what sunspots look like. Because I thought, gee, this could be a light bulb also. Fun picture. This is the sun, and the photographer here has the necessary filtering and protection equipment to get a picture of the surface of the sun. Not as detailed as some pictures of the surface, but we see the sunspots, and then we see the flying saucer also. When you look very closely, it looks like a characteristic flying saucer that you see in the cartoons and some movies and fiction in any case. So yes, indeed, an unidentified flying object and the sun. Fun picture, strong image of the sun. I like it a lot. Next image, please.
Houston?
Here's another approach to astrophotography. And here we take sea creatures of the ocean, and we cast them out into the heavens. And it's so believable. It's such a believable kind of image. Visually, it's delightful. It's a delicious image, the idea of these things floating through space like that, because where we see them ordinarily is floating through the space of the water, and oftentimes deep underwater where they're against a black background. And here they're against a black background, but it's astronomically black. It is really believable. It's such a believable image. It really captures my imagination, and it's so fitting. And the arrangement here is good. The rendition is excellent. The colors, the blues here are terrific. They look wonderful against this black background. Wonderful composition, nice effect on the part of the photographer, and really imaginative use of these sea creatures. Next image, please.
Travel, intermediate. Only 12 miles from Aspen, Colorado, the two 14,000-foot maroon bells present a full view from the parking lot, a 5-minute walk to Maroon Lake, and more difficult trails through the Aspens, 9/13/2008.
The clear air here has these mountains just looming over us. It is as though, because they're rendered so sharply and with such clarity, it looks as though they're just going to advance right across this greenery in the center of the picture and just step over the greenery and crash down onto this lake. One great big pyramid at a time. Really effective crowding of the image, packing these things right up to the top of the image, with packing the people in the image right against the bottom edge of it. So at the top edge, we have the peaks. At the bottom edge, we have the people. And it really emphasizes the scale here between the people and the mountains. Effective use of landscape pictures really makes it an attractive concept. Yeah, let's go see this. This is something really worth seeing. So that's one of the essences of travel picture, is making me want to go there and visit and see it for myself. Nicely done on the part of the photographer. Good choice of focal length here. The choice of lens, the choice of optics here has a real strong influence on how these mountains are just looming over us, tilting toward us, and advancing from the background toward the foreground. Next image, please.
Couple takes in the views at sunrise. Blackpool, West Thumb Geyser Basin, Yellowstone National Park. This hot spring is one of more than 10,000 geothermal features at the park.
The romance of travel is reflected here. We've got a couple of people that seem to be not the advertising type photos, the advertising type models that you see. It looks like a beard on this one fellow here. And a lot of the ad pictures you see are kids, it's college age or 30-year-olds or whatever. Very, rather young people having lots of fun and, skiing down the slopes, etc. What we see here is a mature couple having sharing a warm looking moment over this pool. Again, we have a fairly subtle use of the main subject. A significant subject in the picture is the couple and the wooden structure on which they're standing. The other main subject is the geothermal pool. And on the other side of this picture from the couple who are bathed in warm light is some warm light on the landscape. And of course, the fog reaching up and seeming to meet the clouds in the sky in the upper part of the picture, completes the sense of atmosphere that the photographer has given us. The picture is about the pool, it's about Yellowstone, but it's also very strongly about mood. And capturing mood this way in travel pictures is a real plus. Next image, please.
Travel advance, 3 images. Boat traffic along the Single Canal system in Amsterdam, the Netherlands, is a transportation corridor for both tourists and locals.
Well, the photographer here has captured a bunch of different things. We've got some boats, we've got people, tourists, and traveling in the boats, having fun. And some of them are maybe locals, but lots of them, I'm sure, are tourists. And also the photographer has captured beautiful facades on these buildings, the faces of these old buildings, so smoothly pressed up against the riverside. Everybody seems to be pressed against one surface here. All of these buildings seem to be fitted in such a way that they form such a straight, continuous line, and it's so classic. All of the windows and the structure of these buildings, lots of history here. Photographers captured all that, a lot of sense of history on both sides of the street. And then we reach back on the left side, we see a construction crane, which is inevitable in any city, just about anywhere in the world. But that just kind of adds a little bit of modernity to a classic looking cityscape, urban cityscape. So big, strong diagonal line running from the center of the right edge of the picture all the way into the background, big, strong diagonal taking us back along these buildings. Good, effective picture. Again, very appealing travel image. Good choice of time of day. Next image, please.
Morning reflection on Swift Current Lake. Located in Glacier National Park, Montana, Glacier has been called the crown of the continent and a photographer's paradise.
Beautiful reflection. Great looking mountainscape. This is a classic postcard picture. We have the hotel, and I assume it's a hotel. If that's a private residence, wow. Now I would be even more impressed. In any case, we have the lodging, whatever it is, kind of lodging on the left edge of the picture, kind of anchoring that left edge and giving us some brightness, some extra light in what would be a dark landscape over there on that side of the picture. So the photographer has chosen a good composition. We have centered one of the main peaks in this range is centered both in the sky and in the water. So nice picture, really well balanced composition, formal because of the balance, good rendition of the sky and the water. A little bit static. We could use a little bit of action of some kind in the picture, but a really nice postcard picture nonetheless. Very well exposed and good technical rendering in the post-processing. Next image, please.
Oldworth, with the church at its center and traditional thatch roof cottages, is a typical village in the rolling hills of Dorset on the southwestern coast of England.
Again, a really nice postcard type picture. The composition here is divided almost in half. We have land, of course, and greenery on the bottom, and sky and clouds on the top. The composition other than that is a little bit miscellaneous. It's nice to have that church anchoring the center of the picture. And that gives us a little bit of a hub for the picture. But I think if we had a little bit more foreground, I think I'd like to see just a little bit more foreground under what is underneath this building. What is the stairway? There's a door, a white door on the building in the foreground. The stoop or the street in front of that, I think I'd like to see that. I think that will give a little more value to the picture than the clouds at the very top. We could shave some of that cloud. In any case, I think it might structure the composition a little bit better. The composition seems to want to lean into the background, but doesn't quite make it. But very pretty image, of course, and perfectly exposed, absolutely perfect exposure. So good job on the part of the photographer. Just a little bit stronger composition would have been helpful here. Next image, please.
Travel Masters, 3 images. Godafoss, or the Waterfall of the Gods, is considered one of Iceland's most beautiful waterfalls. It attracts kayakers who challenge their skills by paddling over the 39-foot falls to the pools below.
Oh, look, a rainbow. A couple of rainbows. So lovely. This is terrific. Catching these waterfalls in sunlight. Once again, we all see lots of pictures of Iceland. Iceland seems to have a really good PR department, particularly among those who are doing photo tours. Lots of interesting stuff in Iceland and lots of cloudy days. Boy, oh boy, don't we see a lot of cloudy days in Iceland. Not today. Today is terrific. The river here is throwing up the waterfall is throwing up lots of spray, and we got these rainbows in the spray, and we've got this kayaker. Perfect timing. The kayak is halfway over the falls. The green of the water and a little bit of blue in the sky, a little bit of green in the landscape. All of this works very well together. And the water itself is just a huge diagonal running from the upper left of the picture all the way down out the bottom right corner. Good composition, terrific timing, and wonderful weather, and rainbows, and kayak halfway over the falls. Excellent timing, excellent composition. Good job. Terrific, perfect exposure and rendering. Whites and blacks. Next image, please.
Dubai Gold Souk has hundreds of shops and targets shoppers with different cultures. Regulated by the government to ensure authenticity, it is a major attraction for visitors.
One of the things that we wish to emphasize in travel photography is the culture the culture of the natives, the culture of the people who live there. And these pieces in the window address the culture in a couple of different ways. This is Dubai, and everything that I've seen about Dubai is about money. It's about money, lots and lots of money, and extravagant and unusual ways to use lots and lots of money. And this sure looks like extravagant and unusual ways to use a lot of money in gold. So, but in addition to that, telling us that or addressing that part of the culture a little bit, it also addresses the culture in terms of the garb. We've got facial veils and facial masks made of gold, and chains and hair decorations made of gold. And these are things that, made of fabric, we would expect to see, and we wouldn't be surprised at all to see such things worn on the streets anywhere if they were made of fabric. Here, they're not made of fabric, they're made of gold. And so it's telling us about the culture in which these things are made, and it's also telling us about the environment in which these things are actually manufactured and displayed, and that is an environment of gold. So it speaks to the culture in a couple of ways, one of which is less comfortable than the other. Next image, please.
Buddhist novices contemplating in the Wat Phra Kaew courtyard in Bangkok. Additionally, a monk's possessions are limited to robes and a bowl, but concessions to modernity now allow cell phones.
Again, telling us about the culture, and this is conveying pretty strongly the direction that the culture is headed. When we see monks, typically in the past, the adult monks, they are almost never touching anything that has to do with modernity. Nothing, no modern stuff at all. Yet here we see the young ones who soon will be adult monks, and they will be moving along and training and educating the acolytes of the future. Here they are with their cell phones, distracted and taking up time just the way youths in other cultures in the world take it up. So here we see a classical culture kind of bonding by long distance with a much less classical culture, a very modern culture indeed, through the cell phones. So interesting contrast, interesting expressions on the part of the kids' faces too. Got a mix of expressions from boredom to amazement to sleepy. Next image, please.
Journalism, basic, one image. Beer Fest, 1 of 3, hitting the tap. The annual Petaluma River Craft Beer Fest, with over a dozen local breweries, got off to a great start, and the beer started flowing. 2, good times. This picture represents the majority of the folks attending. It was about coming together to have a few beers, hang out with friends, have some laughs, and make memories. 3 of 3, friendly gesture. This was all about fun and people being with people. Beer is a great reason to get back together. This photo shows how far back we have come.
Well, it's a fun series of pictures. This is the only entry in this category, and it's a good entry. The color here, this tells the story. We're pouring some beer and we're pouring it into a crafts class, and we see all the colors in the background. The photographer has chosen a good background, has rendered the taps nice and sharp. The hand in the glass is a little bit less sharp. The background, of course, is blown out to abstract colors. Good job. Emphasizes the right things. Next image, please. So fun. These people are having fun. Look at those smiles, my goodness. And also, nice gesture, good timing on the part of the photographer. Look, we've got the girl on the left holding hands, holding the wrist of the girl on the right in a playful fashion. We can tell, this isn't just a handshake or holding hands as you walk along. People do that often. It's some kind of a playful gesture going on here that matches the smiles, and we get a sense of the scope of the event with the number of people in the background. Next image, please. And of course, here, once again, this is a hand to hand, one hand to another. And again, the background is blown away, emphasizing the foreground. This picture is not quite as strong as in the informational viewpoint, from the informational viewpoint, as the first picture where we've got the taps in the picture pouring the beer in, but it's a nice gesture nonetheless. So useful set of pictures. In the newspaper business, this would run on the local page as a nice little feature on the day after the event. Perhaps it would be really effective if it were a 2-day event, a Saturday and a Sunday. Then these pictures would have been taken on a Saturday and they would run in the Sunday paper and say, oh, look what's happening today down at the park. So that's the way these pictures would be used. Lots of fun, nice images, good quality, good reporting. Next image, next set, please.
Journalism intermediate, 1 image. Ballet Folklorico 104. Ballet Pakiuyotsun performs in honor of El Dia de los Muertos in front of the beautiful backdrop of St. Vincent de Paul Church in Catalunya. Two of 4. Juan Gonzalez, the leader, dances with machetes. Juan has been teaching and leading the group for 12 years. 3 of 4. Children are taught the dances as well as the culture from many regions of Mexico. 4 of 4. The troops' numbers dwindling during COVID are now once again growing.
Well, once again, we've got a set of pictures here, and one of the things that I always look for is, do the pictures, when you've got more than one picture, when I consider as an editor, when I consider running more than one picture, do the pictures support each other somehow? And where is the key picture? Where's the most important picture? Well, here's the lead picture. The photographer here has it just right. Lots of color, lots of action. And oh, look, the way the dancers are positioned here, their bodies make a very strong, bodies and garments make very strong diagonals. That's pretty effective. Diagonals are always a big deal, and it helps with the dynamic feel in the picture. So the colors also are very helpful. Expressions on the dancers, yay, they're very nice, and they should be. So next image, please. Here we have the folks in the background kind of watching this guy, and sort of not. I think it would have been just as well to center this guy in the image and be able to emphasize both of the machetes a little bit better here. But he's looking right at us. He's coming right toward us. And of course, that's a strong dynamic in itself. Next image. Cute. And this is the cutie picture here. The kids are having fun. Next image. And here's the crowd shot. Most of the time in newspapers, we didn't run very large groups of people like this, because when you run a picture like this in newsprint, it's only a few inches wide, maybe 4 or 5 inches wide, and you can't recognize the people in the picture. You just can't see them. And on the internet, however, you have the luxury of being able to blow the picture up and show it quite large without using a lot of newsprint, expensive space in the newspaper. So this is fairly effective and helps to tell the story. So all the pictures work together pretty well to tell a single story about the Day of the Dead. Next image, please.
Journalism advanced, 1 image. Standing stones, 1 of 2. Ireland has over 200 ancient standing stone sites. Kilkill and Cork has both a 5-stone circle and 2 tall standing stones oriented to the winter solstice. 2 of 2. Its unnamed site in a farmer's pasture contains just 2 stones with unknown ornamentation. These sites, dating from 3300 to 900 BCE, were used for ceremonies and meetings.
Once again, with journalism, the key is news. The key is what is the news that has, what do these have to do with what's happening now? What's happening now about these stones? Is there any new development? Is there any additional consideration that's being given to these things? Is there some news hook? And that's what we used to call it. What's the hook here? What's the news hook? What's the news angle? And that's the question here. If you don't have a news angle, then you have to liven up the picture somehow, have people in the picture, have some dynamic element. The pictures here are good. The quality is quite good. The landscape nature of the pictures is quite good. It's excellent. Foreground, background, lots of good stuff. Next picture, next one. Yeah, see, here again, you're looking out over a landscape and seascape. This is very nice. These are very nice images. They perhaps would fit better as travel images than as journalism images, because there's no development, there's no news attached to these things. There's nothing we can add to it in terms of latest or greatest information. So, wonderful travel picture, delightful landscape pictures, a little shy on news value. Excellent quality images, good compositions. Next image.
Journalism masters one image. Pushing and shoving by riders and horses is allowed. Martin Tasahara and Mateo Ocean, both skilled polo players from Argentina, battle for position. The Congressional Cup, August 2023, Santa Rosa, California.
Page 1 sports. Here we are, page 1 sports. Yeah, this is conflict. One of the things about sports that we see a lot of is conflict. One player against another, whether it's basketball or football. Not so much in tennis. You don't see as much. Tennis isn't much of a contact sports, but you see plenty of it in baseball also. Runners versus base field infielders, runners versus infielders, people going into second base, people coming into home versus the catcher, all of that. And here we have 2 polo players, one against the other, and lots of stress. The horses are into it. The horses are leaning into each other quite nicely. Everybody is contributing to the sense of action. And the expressions on the riders' faces, nobody looks like anybody's suffering here. Not even the horses don't even look like they're in distress either. So lots of action, lots of angles, lots of lines going in all the right directions. Terrific sports picture, really well exposed. Sunlight is direct sun like this. Direct sun like this can be tough on the shadows, but the photographer has managed it quite nicely. Of course, the big long telephoto lens required for shooting polo means that the background is going to be out of focus, and there it is, out of focus. That helps emphasize the composition. Very strong picture. Page 1 sports. Next.
Critique feedback, all levels, 8 images. White River Falls in Oregon plunges 90 feet over a basalt shelf, a testament to the force that carved the walls. Dismantled in 1963, this was home to one of Oregon's first hydroelectric plants in 1910.
In an earlier waterfall picture, I mentioned that the photographer used a shutter speed that gave us a blend. We had some blurred water because of the motion, and we also had some texture in the water because the shutter speed was not so long that it would blur out the water completely. So there was a blend there. And here we see that the photographer took a different approach and went completely all in for the blended stream of water. Even the pool at the base of the picture, all of the water is in motion except for the very edges. We see some detail there. The dreamy effect is also carried through into the background. Of course, the water is blurred there too. But in addition to the blur of the water, we have some haze in the air, haze from water being thrown up from these waterfalls, throwing water all through the air. So we get some haze also. Very dreamy effect. The photographer was going for a dreamy effect and has accomplished it quite nicely. We have good, strong shadow detail in the foreground, as well as the highlights rendered very nicely. We're not losing detail. I mean, we're not losing tone completely. We don't have whiteout waterfalls in the foreground, and that's important. We're losing a little bit of it in the waterfalls in the background, but the haze in the air contributes to that. This is really well handled. We have a dreamy image, a dreamy scene. The mood is dreamy. The photographer accomplished what seems to be the photographer's goals. Those goals seem to be accomplished quite nicely. Next image, please.
Touch of dew.
Touch, yeah. We have what may be a garden sculpture of some kind, the hand reaching out, and a blade of foliage of some kind covered with water drops, and only a very narrow slice of the picture is in focus, and that narrow slice encompasses the one fingertip and the water drops that are beneath that fingertip and then flowing down toward the ground on this leaf. So the photographer has given us just a tiny fragment of in focus subject, but it's enough to tell us all we need to know. We have a sculpture of a hand, and we have water drops headed for the ground, but still in midair, not quite shedding yet, but soon to be. And the background is blurred out and darkened to emphasize or spotlight the main subject. This is an effective and very simple composition in the end, but to get here, the photographer had to do work that was a little bit more complex than it seems to be when you first look at the picture. Next image, please.
Edge of reality after Peter Bruegel film.
Here's where we start to get into some strangeness, of course. I mean, anybody can see that we got a lot of strangeness here. The Peter Bruegel, the elder, had a patent on weird, and that's what he filled his pictures with, weird. And these are all clippings from that picture. And now we start to get into the territory of, gee, what constitutes a picture in competition? Oh, sorry, this is not in competition. Lost my head there for a second. The appeal to me, the appeal of this is the appeal of the image as a whole is limited, because these are kind of tiny sections of the painting that are lifted and then stamped, lifted from one picture and then stamped into another. And in looking at it, I spent some time looking at it, of course, in the last couple of days. And in looking at it again here, I'm having a little bit of trouble finding the rhythm here, finding the sense that the photographer, the artist, is trying to convey. Weirdness and weirdness abounds, but I'm a little bit lost, and the sense of having these things stamped without an apparent pattern has me buffaloed. I'm flummoxed. Next image, please.
A wet and wonderful Toulouse. All photograph except those teeny people created in Photoshop generated by AI, so not legal for competition.
We had an infrared picture in competition, and there were two infrared pictures, but one of them had children in it, and it was lively, and the other one had a path in it that was leading back into the picture. And I mentioned, geez, something else on that path. I see a lot of pictures like that. Gee, we need something else. And if only we had a person. And this is where AI is going to help a lot of photographers and help to make images more worthwhile. This is quite successful. I really like the use of the image, really like the use of the people in here. The photographer has selected a very useful, a very appropriately lighted group of people from the AI offerings that were given to the photographer. When you try to make something with AI, it will give you a bunch of things. It'll give you at least three, and then you say, "Oh, give it to me again," and it'll give you another three, and it keeps giving you three, and until you get something you like and you think is appropriate. Well, that means you have to make some decisions about it. The photographer made a good decision here to add something to this picture, and what the photographer decided on adding, I think, works very well. Good job. Overall effect is dark and kind of brooding, which also is suited to a lot of the Toulouse pictures that I see. So fitting, good job. Nice set of decisions on the part of the photographer. Next image.
As the world turns.
Well, this is the this is the North Star, the pole star, and we get the Earth, and just when you point the camera in the correct direction, you set the exposure about right, this is pretty much what you get. And the star trails here are not as neatly continuous as they are in a lot of the star trail pictures that I see. I think the discontinuous nature of the picture, the dotted line kind of picture, dotted line kind of star trails here, that's an interesting take, an interesting change from the very smooth star trails that we see in so many of the other pictures. So a little bit different. And it talks about the nature of photography in the digital era, and the nature of star photography, because you see the broken lines here. That talks about the medium itself as well as the subject. Interesting take. Next image, please.
Nuclear Angel, after St. Matthew and the Angel by Caravaggio, 1602.
Yeah, it's Caravaggio. That's okay. So this is a similar kind of puzzle for me, in that I'm trying to put together a sense of what the artist and the photographer is kind of trying to tell me. And there are these interesting life and death symbols, man versus nature kind of thing. So I suppose that is the nuclear angel, and we are the force. We represent the nuclear attack, or the nuclear force that is going to affect all of these animals that we see around the fringes of the picture, in sea and on shore, on land, and in the air. So we are the nuclear angel. And of course, nuclear angel, nuclear also means the center. So we are the angel at the center of it all. And there are plenty of folks who, of deep religious faith, who are concerned with exactly that. We are the angels. We are God's creatures at the center of it all, and we're surrounded by all of this natural force. So there's a couple of different interpretations possible here. One is the human force as the destructive force, like nuclear weapons, and the other, the human as the center, the nucleus of it all. So a couple of different interpretations, man and nature. Next image, please.
Red-shafted flicker is a subspecies of the northern flicker, a type of wood. When they open their wings, a fan of salmon color is visible, which is hidden from view when the wings are closed.
Well, these images are offered for critique, and I've been trying to offer some kind of complementary stuff, and trying to add a little bit of criticism to some of the pictures that I've been looking at so far. This picture, however, is not very amenable to criticism. It's just a beautiful picture and a delightful portrait of this bird. Look at these wings. It is as though the photographer said, I'll pay you $50 to show me those wings. Just spread them out and I'll give you I'll give you a can of worms every day for the rest of your life. Just spread. And the bird cooperated, spread the wings perfectly, and waited until the photographer got the picture. Delightful. Absolutely superb portrait of this bird. Of course, the background, once again, is blurred because of the focal length of the lens involved, and the photographer may have added a little bit of blur, I don't know. But the photographer included at the upper right corner, the photographer didn't crop in at all and included that bit of greenery in the upper right corner. Terrific. What a wonderful picture. Bravo to the photographer. Yay. So sorry, I don't have any snotty comments to make about this picture. Next image, please.
AI first created the text in Mid-Journey, then local changes with Photoshop generative AI, topped off with Lightroom masking.
Okay, so it's a pun. we have a pun, and it's AI. So I get it. It's also a good picture. It's an interesting image, and it's a good, again, a good use of AI to make an image that is very high impact. When it is all AI, the way this is, it's a little bit out of my wheelhouse. It's a little bit out of my expertise or expert area. But the comment that what I need to base my comment on, what I need to base my thinking on, is, does the image have impact? Does it have color? Does the color work in the picture? And do the elements work with each other in the picture? Again, with AI, it isn't just a matter of, I'm going to give it a prompt, I'm going to make a suggestion, and I get a single result. No, that's not how it works. You get many results, and you keep telling it over and over and over again to give you different results until you get results that you want or results that you think you can combine. The photographer here has given us an image that's worthy in many ways of the cover of a science fiction book. This gigantic eye floating in space. What I see in the background behind the eye is a starscape, a night sky. And the foreground of the eye is shrubbery or plants and some kind of island, again a pun, an island of light and eye in space. So this is what I react to. This is what I see. This is how I'm reacting to it. The impact, of course, is enormous. As you move along through the pages of a magazine, or as you skim through the internet from one image to another, some of them are going to make you stop and look, and this is one of those. So that's the photography here seems to be quite successful. Next image.
That's it. We got
And there's the metadata. Okay. Second place. Mark. Mark here this evening.
I think not.
I don't think so.
Congratulations to Mark.
Mhm.
First place. Sherry.
Thank you. Two of my favorite beans combined into one, right? Len, I really appreciate your comments, and I'd be embarrassed to tell you how much time I spent on it, but it was great fun. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. That's a terrific picture. Nicely done.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Print and frame it.
Creative Advance, 3 images. Third place. Phil.
Oh, great.
I love it.
At the Joshua Tree National Park, and it's exactly like you said. When I looked at this, I saw the makings of a shark coming out of the water. So I took a photograph of my teeth and I masked them out and warped them to
Oh, brilliant.
Really great.
Congratulations. Second place. Tricia. She was here. Is she still here?
She
was here.
Lost connection.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Tricia for fooling us.
Yes.
First place. Ronnie.
I don't think Ronnie's traveling, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
She's the flower
Congratulations to Ronnie.
Mhm.
Creative Masters, 3 images. Third place. Steve.
Hmm.
Congratulations to
So
Steve.
cool.
She posted this on Facebook, right?
I think so, yeah.
Second place. Bill.
Ah,
Bill, that's so
Thank you.
good.
it's so
Thank you.
clever.
Thank you. I had all these
So well
pictures
done.
of jellyfish from the trip to Scotland. We took off a boat dock. So what can I do with the jellyfish? The hard part was getting the lunar module, which I had to buy. It's about the size of a golf ball, very shiny, metallic. So I
That
had
was
to
my question.
Lunge it up a little bit to make it fit in.
Great.
Very clever.
Congratulations.
Thank
First
you.
place. Tamara.
Tamara is living in Africa, and she asked me if I would represent her anytime I wanted, knew what to say. And she said that these were actually how they were done out of camera, experimenting actually overexposing to get this look. So, I mean, I don't know, she may have done a little something here or there, but basically this was the intention as how they were photographed. Cool.
Wow,
Nice,
very cool.
really
I
nice.
love Len's
Really nice.
comments too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I will tell her to be sure to watch it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Tamara. Journalism Basic, 1 image. First place. Dan.
Very fun images.
Yeah, nice.
Congratulations to Dan. Journalism Intermediate, 1 image. First place. Ellen.
Thank you. I love this group, and I'd actually like to see a count of how many ballet folklorical groups there are now in Sonoma County, because I keep hearing of more and more.
Hmm.
It's just a really growing occupation here. Really fun to watch.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Journalism Advanced, 1 image. First place. Jennifer.
Oh, yes, thank you. I really enjoyed these standing stones. But in Ireland, they're in people's cow pastures and places like that. But nobody touches them. I even saw one on someone's front lawn. That was there, and they built their house, but they carefully didn't disturb the stone. They're old, but they're kind of in the middle of things that are new.
Congratulations. Journalism Masters, 1 image. First place. Bill.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. They say polo is ice hockey on horses. It's just that it's usually so far away you can't see the players because the fields are huge. But you can see it here.
Great expression on the horses
Mhm, mhm.
too.
Congratulations.
Very
Thank you.
nice.
Travel Intermediate, 2 images. Second place. Greg.
Yeah, if you've never been to the Maroon Bells, it's a must see. It's one of my favorite locations in Colorado. And at this time of year, actually mid to late September, you can catch snow on the mountains while the aspens turn bright yellow. The aspens just weren't quite up to color for this photo, but really enjoyed the snow on the mountains. Thank you.
Thanks.
Congratulations. First place. Sherry.
Oh, thank you very much. This was my first trip to Yellowstone this last August, and it totally captivated me. It's just an extraordinary place to take your camera out. Thank you for the really wonderful feedback. Much appreciated.
Beautiful.
Congratulations. Travel Advanced, 3 images. Third place. Trisha. Congratulations to Trisha.
Cool. Nice image.
Second place. Ronnie.
Hmm.
Congratulations to Ronnie. First place. Linda.
So pretty.
Might not still be up.
She might be asleep.
Oh,
Oh, there
No,
she
I'm
is.
not.
There she is.
Almost. Almost asleep.
You're still
That-
awake.
That's the Mini Glacier Hotel back there on the lake. Yeah. Thank you for all the feedback. I really appreciate that.
Congratulations. Travel Masters, 3 images. 3rd place, Tamara. She made it to Dubai. Congratulations to Tamara. 2nd place, Herb.
Thank you. Yeah, this was kind of a grab shot with the point and shoot. I just got lucky with the expressions. And our tour guide suggested that the way they rationalized the use of cell phones wouldn't fit in the 200 characters was that if they used it for good purposes, like communicating with his grandmother or something, then it was okay. Video games, probably not. So thank you.
Congratulations. 1st place, Herb again.
Oh,
Yeah, what a
that's
catch.
awesome. It's
This
amazing.
was from a recent round the island trip to Iceland, and just got the right place and right time. So
Boy,
it wasn't that hard. Thank you.
great shot.
Congratulations. Pictorial Basic, 4 images, honorable mention. Francis.
Oh, thank you. This was a very early one morning. Nobody around and standing in the middle of the street to get the right angle. So I appreciate that comment about the framing and saturation too, because it's a really vivid color facade. So thanks for the comments.
Very nice.
Congratulations, great color. Oof.
Yeah.
3rd place, Francis again.
I just left my mic on. Yeah, this to me was a strange one because it's a telephoto shot and I don't usually shoot landscape with telephoto. But I was after birds at the time and I just loved the view. And really like her comments on the trees because the trunks were catching the sunset just amazingly. And yeah, if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have pulled it out because there was a ton of post-processing. It was all mud up above the water and took a lot of masking to pull everything out. So thanks for the comments. Yeah, I really love this and how the water's spilling off the rocks in the foreground just kind of adds a sense of time to it. But yeah, inhospitable area. I don't like the North Coast particularly because it just, I find it really, the forest is really forbidding to me. So yeah, I loved how that picture came out.
Good job.
Congratulations. 2nd place, James.
Hi there. So, yeah, this photo was in the Chiricahua Mountains in southeastern Arizona, and the Chiricahua National Monument. Just a fantastic place for geological formations, and this just really struck me as a fascinating perspective of the formations there. And I have to say, this is my first competition, so this is great. I really enjoyed seeing everything and listening to all the comments. It's really good.
Congratulations. 1st place, James again.
Okay, yeah. This was such a beautiful spot in Mendocino County, the Heritage House location. So this was a wide angle lens, and the lighting was just so beautiful. So this is the type of image that I just love. So thank you.
Congratulations. Pictorial Intermediate, 4 images, honorable mention. Ellen.
Thank you. This man, the word Zocalo in Colombia, it means, it says relief. I don't know if you call them paintings or relief work that is then painted, and it's just all over this town. And this man has done 500 of them. And it kind of shows he's been working outside for the last 45 years.
I love his hands. The detail in his hands is amazing.
Congratulations. Third place. Greg.
Oh, wow.
Hmm.
So, I took this photo of, that's a red oak tree in our backyard. And I saw the color was changing and it was a little breezy out. So I went and grabbed one of my wife's pumpkins, ran up there and set it up next to the tree. And then I used my iPhone. And something I learned from Len Cook earlier this year when he gave the program, in-camera motion. So I used the Spectre app on my iPhone to get the leaf motion. If you look kind of close, you can see that the leaves are kind of superimposed on each other. And it takes 3 images and then superimposes them. And of course, the pumpkin was still. Thank you.
Very good.
Congratulations. Second place. Ellen.
Thank you. This was a fun one. It was fun to watch, fun to catch, and I did. I put in a different background. The background was not good, but this is the background that was there if you turned your head and looked the other way a bit. So it was fun to work on.
Congratulations. First place. Sherry.
Oh,
Oh, thank you. Oh my goodness. I did a workshop end of July, beginning of August in the Palouse, and the first night we had this incredible thunderstorm. I did not have a lightning trigger. I think you had that question, but you could see the seam in the clouds where the air was colliding, and I just opened my shutter for 20 seconds at a time and happened to catch it. So I felt really fortunate.
Wow.
Beautiful. Really nice.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Pictorial Advance, 5 images, honorable mention. Linda.
Oh, thank you. This was a fun one to take. The kids playing there, and the beach is just absolutely gorgeous. And thanks for all your comments on that. Appreciate that.
Congratulations. Honorable mention. Linda again.
Yeah, that was definitely a different kind of getting down low and taking that picture. I thought it'd be kind of fun doing something a little bit different. But thanks again for all your comments.
Congratulations. Third place. Jennifer.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, this was one of the highlights of my whole trip to Ireland, this beautiful still water and some things being picked out by rays of sun and other things more in the shade. I'm going to have to go back because I didn't get here in time to watch the first half of the competition. So I'll have to go back to listen to comments. But thank you very much.
Congratulations. Second place. Ed.
Traveling.
Congratulations to Ed. First place. Trisha.
Yay!
Fabulous.
So cool.
Congratulations to Trisha.
a Mondrian.
Right.
Yeah.
Pictorial Masters, 6 images. Honorable mention. Jack. Congratulations to Jack. Honorable mention. Tamara.
Oh,
Congratulations to Tamara. Honorable mention, Steve.
What's some image?
Congratulations to Steve. Third place, Gary.
I love the palette.
Congratulations. Yes.
Great colors,
Yeah, the colors are amazing.
amazing.
mhm.
Congratulations to Gary. Second place, Herb.
This is amazing.
Hi, yeah, this was just taken a couple of weeks ago. And we had figured out where to go the night before and got up an hour before sunrise and just watched the sun scrape the top of the rock. So a lot of fun. And I didn't realize it looked like that either until I saw it that morning. So thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
How long did the light last?
Less than minutes, literally.
Yeah.
5 minutes tops.
Is that Bryce Canyon or somewhere else?
It is. It's Bryce Canyon.
Inspiration point.
Congratulations. First place,
Thank you.
Steve.
Oh, so awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Gorgeous
Yeah, it's
picture.
amazing.
So is that with a drone?
Has to be.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless he's
Yeah.
got a really big trampoline or something.
Oh, he's got a drone.
Congratulations to Steve.
Really good.
And the winner for the evening is Steve.
Okay.
Just gorgeous.
It's really make it.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Len.
Yes, Len, thank you.
Good job. Great evening.
Great comments. Great
Mhm.
Thanks for
thoughtful
your comments. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I really learned a lot.
And we'll
Well,
have
I
the
try to
video.
I try to throw in something worthwhile once for each picture, but you know, sometimes it works.
No, it was a great evening.
Yeah, very
Really well done.
point.
And the video will be up tonight.
Oh, thank
Awesome.
you, Bill.
Are you
this-
leaving
Good trip.
tomorrow, Bill? Or tonight?
In the morning, early in the morning.
All right. Have a good time.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone.
Well, thank you all very much for inviting me back. That's the as far as I think as far as a judge is concerned, being asked back is the highest compliment.
Really happy you're here. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank
You're
you
welcome.
very much.
Feedback on your critique the previous time was just fantastic. Everyone was really happy.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Thank
Night.
you.
Thank
Bill,
you.
Bill, I'll sing